Auzubillahiminashaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Ji ayanu, pakheraagale, ni hao, chunashumme, washmale. Ohio Gonzaimas. Guten Morgen. Hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal? Halishuma chatore, ahlan wasal, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabia, balli kere aya, hosh geldin. And I osayo, huyamora, chivato, chihal, kalimera. And a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching what this morning alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajar Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and it seems like as if that we have received a missed call from Allah Almighty. And the reason being, so I thought that just because the stars are not visible at night, it's going to rain, but it never rained. But ladies and gentlemen, since it happens to be Monday, so I hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. Hello Hajra, how are you doing?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for introducing me, Shahzad. So it did rain, not yesterday, but the day before yesterday, and it was pretty terrible, sort of a very gale storm, and there was lots of rain. But I think certainly temperature has dropped a lot, and we are enjoying the very moderate temperature of Islamabad, and Islamabad is defined by that. But having said so, Shahzad, so there's a competition going on in the Spain, and there's so many interesting competitions going on across the world. That they are actually paying people who can sleep the most $1,500, right? So that's a pretty amazing amount, right? And certainly I want to participate, but I really don't know how to participate because I have to fly to Spain, and I don't know if the ticket cost is great to participate in that competition.
I think half of what you're going to get is going to go towards your ticket. The rest is fine. You know, so you might probably be able to save $600 to $700. Right. But you know what? You know,
I'm sorry, I'm cutting you, but the last person who won the competition and the last record that was made was a person has to, he slept for 15 hours straight, right? Not slept exactly, but he was lying in this position, and there's some rules, so they can have 10 minutes break of the washroom, something like that. But if you are to participate in this competition, Shahzad, so what do you think, judging by your own character, so for how many days you can lay down in that, you know, resting position? And
I mean, since we have never gotten such an opportunity, so we never sure, you know, but there's one thing which I know, and that is that, you know, see, even if I'm overworked, so I'll take another day to kind of relax myself, and then, you know, I think that, you know, just 2 days after I'm done with my work and vacation and what sort, you know, relaxing myself, I'm like, okay, mujhe kaam batao, main kisko khaun, main kya karu, you know, so the Zakuta jinn kind of comes in, and I'm like, okay, you know, I need to do something. But having said so, I think that if they're going to allow cell phones while you can lie down in your bed, I think we both can do pretty well. So for everybody who's out there, if you want to participate in such a contest, please make sure. But I have a friend, Gujjar is his name. He can certainly win it no matter what happens because he can sleep. Imagine that he slept on a Monday and woke up on a Wednesday, you know, so that's the kind of ability that he has and he possesses. But very quickly, coming down towards the top stories, ladies and gentlemen, let's see what do we have in the top stories.
Right. So 75th death anniversary of the father of the nation, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, is being observed with due solemnity today. Quran Khwani and Fatiha Khwani will be held at the Mazar-e-Qaid in Karachi. Radio Pakistan and PTV will broadcast special programs on this occasion to pay tribute to Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah for his unmatched services for the freedom of Pakistan. Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah passed away on 11th of September 1948, shortly after achieving freedom for the nation. And it is a huge achievement, Shahzad, considering the fact that just through the constitutional means, just by following the law and putting out his legal defenses in the first place, he obtained a landmass called Pakistan. He never went to jail, and this shows his strength, this shows his dignity and the strength of his character, that how he was able to pull off, and that too when he had so many powerful rivals in that area called subcontinent at that time. Not just the Congress, but also the Britishers, who were not ready to leave because the Congress had the slogan of quit India, but Quaid-e-Azam made sure that they should divide and then quit India.
And you know, what I believe is, I don't know whether a lot of people are going to agree with me or not, but Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah kind of gave them the taste of their own medicine. So imagine that he studied law, you know, he became a barrister, not just that, he went to the country, he went to the same country, learned their own language, and then kind of defended, you know, his motherland, which we call Pakistan, or the very creation of it. in their language.
Couch in their language, in the human rights term, and in their own jargon. That's very true, and thank you so much for very succinctly putting it out there. And this is how we do. So moving on, so the blockbuster Super 4 clash of the Asia Cup between Pakistan and India will resume. Analysis are always on the point, and we all know that India-Pakistan match is always more than just a match. There's so many emotions invested in there, and I think it's a horrible feeling for any team that loses in the first place, right? Because
you know, Haja, since it was the group stage, and you know, it's a do or die for every other team, you know, so they're making sure that they're going to give it their best. You know, the last encounter that we had with India, you know, unfortunately it was washed off as well, and you know, India was able to score 260 or 66. And when we see that, okay, Nepal was able to kind of, you know, put up 230 plus scores on the scoreboard against India, we thought that, okay, you know, 266, we would have chased it. But the way they applied themselves yesterday was something which was very different, and it's worth talking about. So, you know, because the intent was there. Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill early on having a 100+ runs partnership was some, and Shaheen Shah Afridi, Naseem Shah not being able to get their wicket with the newer ball in the first 10 overs is something which was very disappointing for us Pakistani cricket fans, not as a commentator or as a host or as an analyst, but certainly because the game is going to resume from 24.1 overs where it was left. But the unfortunate news is, which I'm very sorry that I'm going to break to you, that it's still raining in Colombo. So I'm not sure whether the game is going to resume today or not, but today we had a reserve day for this game only. So I think for that you'll have to tune into PTV Sports somewhat around 12:30, and I'll tell you what the updates are.
Wonderful, wonderful, and we will keep watching it because obviously it's more than a match. But now moving on to our segment, now we want to kickstart our conversation, which is about the food, the diet, and how the food we are consuming shapes us in the first place, right? So being Pakistani, being someone who belongs to South Asian culture in the first place, we are really fond of the parathas, and we are really fond of the lots of lassi and very spicy food in the first place. And if you go around the world, Shahzad, since you have the exposure of that, so you will find that the spices are very minimal or do not exist at all in their food.
And I have, Haja, I have another example of sharing. So imagine that, you know, what happens is that when we go abroad, you know, people in an instant will recognize that you are from Pakistan or India. And you know what, you know, so earlier I used to get surprised that, okay, you know, how do they get to know? So now I realize that, you know, that people from Bangladesh, Pakistan, India will always have a very distinct smell of spice coming from them, which is why they kind of identify that, okay, you know, these people belong to Asia. Because imagine that, you know, when you meet people abroad, you know, for example in UK, you know, they eat so clean, there's hardly any scent that you can actually kind of absorb from them, that you're like, okay. And whenever you're going to go dine out with them, you're like, okay, what am I going to eat? Because look at them, what they are eating. So they're all eating raw vegetables and fruits
boiled
and whatnot.
And
they've quit on chicken as well, you know. So either half of them are interested in having meat, mutton, beef, and half of them are not. So half of them have converted to vegetarians, and they're living a healthier life. Imagine Sylvester Stallone at this age is a vegetarian, and he's like, okay, I never knew that, but
but we do have our own observations regarding being vegetarian, considering the fact that we consume a lot of meat. But Shahzad, there's one thing that I would like to bring our attention is that this phenomena, which is very pertinent in the West, is of the genetically modified food, and we've seen that how it is actually affecting and impacting them a lot, and how there's a conversation about having an organic industry in the first place. And I do believe that in Pakistan, if you made an effort, you do find a lot of organic farm fresh market at a very cheap rate, and I think that's a blessing that we take for granted a lot. But we need to have this conversation, and we want to kickstart, and without any further ado,
because Hajar, just I wanted to add over here, because what happens is that over there, what they've done is that they, for example, so it's a multi-tier industry. So one, obviously, if you're not interested in having organic food, you can get it very cheap, you know, so $1 probably for eggs and bread and whatnot.
But if you see the organic, the ingredients of the organic product, they're not organic in the first place, because you will find a lot of preservatives there. So I think it's just a marketing tactic.
That's what I'm saying, because now they have opened up, you know, the whole organic stores, you know, so, and they're open 24/7, and they make sure, because the expiry is too short, you know, so if something's going to come into the shop, you really need to get it in the span of one day. So there's this industry which is booming as well. So I think Pakistanis need to realize that, okay, while we can have organic food, let's have it as well, and that too at a cheaper rate. So to talk about it, because we, both of me and Hajar, we come from, alhamdulillah, very modest backgrounds, and the kind of life we live is just exactly like majority of Pakistanis live, alhamdulillah. And we are thankful to Allah Almighty for that. So what we're going to do is that we're going to put our diets in front of our nutritionist and dietitian we have over here inside the studios, and she's going to kind of customize it for our needs, body requirements and whatnot, so it will be more relatable. So without any further ado, we're very lucky that we've been joined by a clinical dietitian who happens to be Miss Anisa Suhail. Hello Anisa, Assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much for the warm welcome.
And thank you so much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you over here. And so Anisa, I think I'm going to put my dietary habits in the first place in front of you, and then you can let us know. So early morning, just kind of listen to it, and I would want audiences to listen to it. So early morning I'll have brown bread, half fried egg, a cup of tea, and any curry, you know, so may it be minced meat and peas, may it be chickpeas, you know, so whatever is there, even if it's ghee, tinde, tomato, whatsoever. And then, you know, towards the lunch, what I'll do is, because these days we are having this transmission, so I'll have a pizza or a burger, because that's what the office gives us. Well, it's totally dependent on our choice. And then towards the end, when it comes down to dinner, so whatever curry and whatever road chapati, because I do not like rice that much, so, you know, I'll take that. And, you know, somewhere in between, I'll have a glass of protein shake. So that's all what my diet is. What do I need to do to kind of be more healthier?
Do you have snacks in between?
Yeah.
Between main meals?
So, you know, before sleeping, I'll take a chocolate and a chocolate milk. Yes.
Okay,
Right.
and what about like mid-morning, like 11, 12 o'clock, before lunch, between your main meals?
Nothing, I mean, if a friend is eating something, I might just chuck on it, but no, not really.
Okay, so for the morning part, I would suggest you to add some sort of fiber in it, because I know you probably choose bran bread thinking that it has more fiber and all that.
Yeah.
But if you read the ingredients at the back, and you also feel the difference between the white bread and the bran bread, there's not much of a difference.
Okay.
The gluten is the same, the rice is the same,
And the calories?
the texture is also the same. There's not much of a difference in the calories as well. In fact, I was just watching a video yesterday where it was like a behind the scenes in a bakery. No hate to all the bakeries, but we really need to check the ingredients. I don't think there's a huge difference
So
between
do you
a
think
brand.
that eating a paratha in the morning is recommended?
Okay, so that's a good question. Paratha, if it's in your portion size, if it's in your
It's a
portion
little
size,
crispy.
and if you reduce the size to almost 6 inch of a chapati, and if you use pure desi ghee on it, no artificial oils or hydrogenated oils, and also if you're using whole wheat atta, whole wheat atta, yes, because a lot of people, the most common atta that's used nowadays, it's refined flour, you know, that fine white
I was
atta.
about to say that we certainly do not use the whole wheat atta, obviously, you know, because we come from normal, modest, humble backgrounds.
But there's not much of a difference in the price. I think it's just about the awareness.
There's a difference in awareness now. So,
Yes.
you know, I think I'll have to, Ammi, or Preet bhai se kahin zara whole wheat mein please. Acha, okay, so now coming to lunch.
Yes. So lunch, if
Pizza,
you want,
burger, any salad which I'm going to get these days, otherwise it's roti or a sandwich which is once again made of a brown bread and a cup of tea with 2 cake rusks.
so it's always okay to have fast food every once in a while, as long as it's not a daily habit.
But what if I'm working out every day? After the fast food?
I got asked this question a while back as well. The thing is that if you're having bad food continuously, bad diet, workout is not going to compensate that bad diet.
nutritional needs,
You might burn the calories that you gain, but you cannot change the preservatives or the sugar or the glycation that's going to happen as a result of all that fast food. You can't change that.
But imagine you have a zinger burger in your hand. It's full of cheese and mayonnaise.
It takes a lot
and
to...
you strip off that chili ketchup and you put it on top of your burger and you take a healthy bite.
It's always
and you're
okay
like,
to have that,
wow.
every once in a while. It's always okay to have that every once in a while, because if you restrict yourself too much from all these foods that you actually like to have and which gives you pleasure, it's going to destroy the relationship you have with food, and that might eventually result into food disorders and
Wonderful. So
yes,
dinner, roti and salad.
Yes, roti and salan is fine as long as you add more fiber in it. Again, the vegetables and everything that I talked about earlier. The
Does
vegetables
roti contain any fiber?
It does if you're using whole wheat.
Okay,
It does
only
if you're using whole wheat. And then we have different, ways that we can actually make it a high fiber roti. We can add flax seeds, we can add ground sesame seeds, we can add ground pumpkin seeds. So adding those seeds adds value to it. It increases
what if,
the nutritional
I replace
value.
my brown bread with the what do we call that? Those grain breads we have in the market.
Multigrain?
Yeah, multigrain.
Yeah, the thing is that I checked out some multigrain breads in the market, and they only just sprinkle the multigrain stuff on the top just to make it look like it's multigrain. So you have to choose a good brand. But yes, it's a good option.
But now let's talk about, because you alluded to a very interesting point about how our body has a relationship with the food, and obviously it's very important. And when we were having a discussion before the red light of the camera went on, you talked about the nutrigenomics, right? The term is very fancy, and if for a lay person like us who are not invested into the medicine, can you explain us what does that mean? And we were having also the discussion about genetically modified food, right? So please kickstart the conversation.
Thank you for bringing that question up. Nutrigenomics, basically, it is the relationship of food and genetics. So it basically talks about how the food that you eat is going to affect your genetics. It's a new study, it's a new field in the science of nutrition, and it's a part of epigenetics, which basically talks about how your environment, which for us includes our emotions, our lifestyle, which includes our exercise and diet, and sleep-wake cycle, and how we are dealing with our hormone imbalance and everything. That all this affects our genetics. So specifically, I would like to talk about autism and ADHD. All these behavioral disorders, they actually have a very close link with the diet that we're having. I'm not saying that they are not psychological disorders, obviously, with respect to that field, but it has a very close link to the nutrition that the child is having or the mother is having. Because all right, if I'm having like a bunch of fast food or processed food in my life, it might not affect me directly a lot, but it's going to become part of my genes, it's going to become part of my genetic makeup, and then it might affect 2 generations down the line.
And so this research which you are quoting as of now, where does it originate from? So for people to have a better understanding and that they can put in their own research as well, I think that'll be great. Because till now, I don't think that I've heard that that how your food can actually have an impact on your genes or on your DNA as well. So I think it's better that we share the source of the research.
Yes. So it's not like there's one research on it. It's an entire branch of study now.
Wonderful.
So you will find plenty of articles on this. Just like type into Google or Google Scholar actually, because then the results that you'll get will be actual scientific articles and research articles. Just type into it, diabetes and genetics, cholesterol and genetics. So the reason why Pakistan is now the leading country in diabetes is because it has become part of our genes. Every 1 in 4 people in Pakistan is diabetic.
Sab kha rahe na, kha rahe,
exactly.
Sab kha rahe.
And insulin resistance it's part of us, and it affects men and women differently. So matlab it has
exactly.
become
No, but Haja is trying to escape away from her diet, so Haja, you really need to kind of share your diet and get modifications from her.
Okay.
Right? Let's hear it from Haja. Come on.
Okay, so in the morning I have 2 pieces of bread with the fried egg, and I consume milkshake, which is usually of banana. But if banana is not there, then it's mango. So I'm not that fond of teas and coffees. I'm usually caffeine free, but I go for the milk products, lassi, dahi, and all of this. Yes, stuff. But now let's talk about yogurt, and I really wanted to ask about the.
What about lunch? What about dinner?
Okay, that's right. That's right.
No, we have to relate with the audience now.
I usually skip my lunch. I go for the yogurt, and then I have dinner, which is chapati and whatever.
But
the curry
what about
there.
in between?
I don't eat.
Come
that
on,
much.
while we were in the makeup
You don't
room,
take
said,
small snacks either.
So much.
Small snacks either. वो भी नहीं खाती.
No. I usually don't go for it because I think at 6 or 7 there is that supper time, and my parents are having tea, so I'm not invested that much in the tea. But if there's sometimes some bakery item present there, because my sister is into the baking. Yeah, no, she's into the baking, so cupcakes or maybe marble cake or stuff like that. But it's not available every day, once in a while. So I do have that, but usually I don't eat that much in between. I know it's not a very ideal diet. That was why I was avoiding
reluctant,
this question. Yeah. But now let's talk about another
modifications. To le lena, so
I will have it once.
What do you think Hajar needs to do to modify, and be healthier? Okay.
Probably add more snacks. Probably add more snacks in between, because you're a working woman, and especially your diet is actually going to be a great example for an average working woman in Pakistan, because nowadays there are a lot of those people here. usually in office timings, what we do is we snack on whatever we get. You said that you're caffeine free, but most of the working people in Pakistan, they usually rely on a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. And whenever they feel hungry during the day, it's not their lunchtime, or it's not, you know, officially allowed by the office or whatever. What they usually rely on is like any biscuits or any, you know, processed snack or a cup of coffee, and they just kind of suppress their hunger. So that, you know, 3-4 years down the line of an office-based sitting 9-to-5 job, you will find the abdominal waste of that particular person increasing. And it's a very common observation, and it's actually so that's actually harmful. So it's better if you keep nuts, if you keep popcorns, if you keep seeds. That's a really good option.
So just one more thing which I'm going to add over here, and that is that, so what happens is, I mean, I'm very sorry, but I have to talk about it because it has to do quite a lot with diet and your nutrition. So what happens is, a lot of people happen to be smokers too these days, right? You know, so just to release their stress and whatnot. So what happens is that, you know, those people I've seen have garnered this habit that whenever they feel like smoking, they need a cup of tea, either a cup of coffee, a glass of juice or something. But so they need to kind of change the taste within and then kind of go for that smoke as well, even though we do not advocate about smoking. But for people who do that, you know, it has a lot of impact on their diet and the nutrition, and unfortunately for all of those sugary drinks that they are consuming. What do you think they need to do?
The correlation of smokers and cardiovascular diseases like heart diseases, it's huge. It's a very deep correlation. So, you know, 10 years of smoking, eventually you're going to develop some sort of heart disease, some sort of disease of the vessels. Your blood vessels are going to become narrow, they're going to become weak, and your heart won't be able to pump blood to all the parts of the body. And you know, during our 4-5 grade, we used to get these anti-smoking day competitions and all that, and we used to draw pictures of the lungs of a person, healthy lungs and lungs of a smoker. And I still have that picture in mind, and I bet every Pakistani kid has gone through that picture, you know, visual image. So I think the elders also need to keep that picture in mind. So eventually it's not going to help them. And you talked about the sugary drinks. So you know, 1 can of any fizzy drink, it actually has about 12 teaspoons of sugar, and that's a lot of amount.
But now, it gives but these days we do get, you know, the zero sugar drinks. Why?
It's just like a marketing gimmick.
Sugar in it.
No,
they're using sweeteners.
I mean, there's obviously sugar in it, and you know, the moment you consume it, you will feel the sweetness in the taste. So I just think that this is
the alternate that they're using is actually a sweetener. It's usually aspartame or some other sweetener. But we've already seen a study by WHO. It came out, I think, a month ago or something. Aspartame is actually like a carcinogenic. So carcinogenic is like the item which causes cancer.
As well, and we shared it on television.
Yes, it causes cancer.
At all.
Yes, although you know, small amounts don't hurt you. It's not going to cause you cancer, but eventually, if you make it part of your regular diet, then it's going to harm you.
I think, you know, we have a great partnership with. I have a great partnership with my father. So we open up a can. So he takes a little, I take a little, and then my daughter takes a little. so it's good. But it's an everyday thing.
That's a wonderful, it's a more of a bonding tool than drinkable. So now let's talk about the genetically modified food, and let's talk about what is wrong with the way we are consuming our food nowadays, because we see obviously our life is progressing, we are having a lot of luxuries, we are progressing materialistically, but then you will see generally that there is an uptick in the rise of lots of diseases, right? So an element of mobility has always reduced. Because earlier on people used to walk in their foot, and now they are, driving on the cars or public transport or something like that, right? And we've also seen that your health is always a one component, so it's spiritual health, material health.
It's a holistic approach.
Physical health and whatnot. So what is wrong with the way we are consuming our diet nowadays that is creating so much diseases across the societies, across the world in the first place?
I think we just don't appreciate the health that we have. Once we face a disease, once we actually go through those hospital bills and all that pain, all that, you know, back and forth with the doctor, that's when we realize that health was such a huge blessing.
Yes.
So unless we don't get that health taken away from us, we don't understand what a blessing it was. So I think that is the problem. And secondly, I think the world order has changed entirely. You know, it's digitalized. We have our gadgets with us every time,
we are sitting
and I think that has impacted our health majorly. So if we kind of reduce digital detox, so I think that explains a lot about why we are going
and that's a very
towards that
interesting
lifestyle.
concept that you talked about, digital detox, and certainly we would like to build up a conversation in some other program, because this concept is gaining traction and we need to talk a lot about it and see where the fallacies lies. But thank you so much, Anisa, for coming to our show and for having this wonderful conversation. And after a short break, we have a very interesting conversation lined up, so don't go anywhere.
Good morning. All right, everybody, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned to BTV World. You're certainly watching World this morning. Mujhe kehte hain Shehzad Hasan Khan, and with me, I'm very lucky that I've been joined by Ms. Haja Satti. Earlier, when we went for a short break, ladies and gentlemen, we were joined by a clinical dietitian. She kind of spoke really high of our diets. Well, not really high. We certainly need to make a few. The director for the Junior Jinnah School, and obviously, since we have spoken about our founder Qaeda Muhammad Ali Jinnah, this happens to be his death anniversary today as well, so why not talk about his vision and what he wanted to instill as an educational system, because his quote says, without education it is complete darkness, and with education it is light. Education is a matter of life. We're very lucky that we have been joined by a humanitarian himself. He happens to be Mr. Muhammad Al Khayyam. Hello sir, Assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you, Mr. Shehzad.
Assalamu alaikum sir, how are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you so much for
brother
joining us.
Shehzad and
Wonderful
Ms.
to have you
Hajra.
over
Thank
here.
you, thank you.
Thank you, Jazakallah, and it's an honor to have you in our studio. So let's talk about the Junior Jinnah School, and I'm very fascinated by the name in the first place. And we always talked about that how our school system are instilling the, we rote learning and memorization, and there's so much things that are being going on. But I think the value system is somewhat becoming a casualty, and which was not the case before, right? Because our parents talks about so passionately about how there was lots of subjects and how there was also nurturing going on inside the schools, but that aspect is, I think, becoming somewhat invisible because of the huge commercialization that is going on, right? So how are you filling that gap in the first place? Because the concept of Junior Jinnah is very fascinating in the first place.
Thank you. Actually, the concept of Junior Jinnah came into being back in 2014, and there were a number of people who wanted to actually create Junior Jinnah in Pakistan, so Pakistan could be really built upon. And as Brother Shehzad just had quoted, that education is a matter of life, as quoted by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So to create that light, we have to educate our kids, we have to serve humanity, we have to educate those out of school children who are not been to school. And there are 25 million, more than 25 million only in Pakistan. And we have to talk about only in Islamabad capital, there are 83,000 plus out of school children only situated in Islamabad capital territory. So this is how Junior Jinnah started working in Islamabad, and we are trying to educate those out of school children who are aged between 6 to 16 years. And they are being enrolled in, they are being called upon the different school. There are one-room school, and there are masajid school available, there are madaris school available for them. So you can open a school in every other street you want to. So there is a fast track program. Basically, we are educating so they can cover up their age. They are left behind. Their train has been missed, so we wanted to get them their track on their train. So we have introduced a 2.5-year program for the primary level, and then we educate, turn them to a skill development program where they get to Yeah, where they do learn digital
Yes,
skill,
yes.
they do learn freelancing, they do learn graphic designing, all these programs.
So wonderful, and thank you so much for thinking about out of school children. So as of now, there are 2,000 out of school children which have been enrolled with the Junior Junior School.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the education model that you're working on. It's good to see that how you're going to educate them first and then bring them to digital literacy, towards digital literacy. But do you think that half of the time, because of the fact that unfortunately they are out of school children and their families might not have ever been to schools, there's a learning difficulty with those children, and how do you cope up with that learning difficulty, and how do you, kind of program a syllabi which is very conducive for them to learn and that it is easier for them to learn?
Thank you. I think this is a very important
I'm
point.
known for that.
You have talked about this very important one. Actually, the syllabus which recently has been developed and approved by the government of Pakistan as well, and National Foundation and other institute as well. There are 30-month syllabus available right now, and that based on the actual learning, actual visual learning on the student. So the kid who is aged between 8 years or 7 years, he has visual learning of the market. He do understand that this is a table. He do understand this is a cup of tea. Or this is this
and
is a
most
lamp.
of them are street smart as well.
Yeah, they are very much street smart. They're very much street smart. That is why they graduated the same amount of syllabus in 2.5 years as compared to the other our normal kids who are graduated from grade 5 in 8 years time.
Wow.
So this is actually the syllabus is very interactive for them, and kids really come. Their attendance is, I would say, 100% attendance in that, because they do really want to learn. They understand new things.
And let's talk about, because when we talk about education, and the concept of the education is so that we can groom our children into better and responsible citizens in the first place, right? And now let's talk about the subject of inclusivity and diversity, and making sure that the kids who are differently able have also equal access to the education. And I do feel that obviously there's a lot of conversation going on with inclusivity and diversity, but when it comes to the things on the ground, that might be as great as the conversations that we are having, right? How do you identify, or how do you cater to the needs of those special kids who are differently able and who need different requirement and attention, that too from the teacher in the first place?
So right now, we never discourage or discriminate any special child who are coming to our school, our campuses in different platform, different areas in Islamabad, Rawalpindi. Right now, around 10 kids are currently enrolled in our campuses, and teachers are giving them extra attention. They are being taught in extra hour. There are some visually impaired as well. There are some listening issue. There are some disabled as well. So we are already including those in
exactly,
our
and it's wonderful. Now, two more questions which I need you to ask, and that is that unfortunately in the recent times you have seen that there's a higher dropout ratio as well.
Yeah.
And when we speak of the higher dropout ratio, majority of the children who are affected are girls. And so what do you do in that perspective? Because imagine that, and how do you prioritize? Do you prioritize that, okay, out of school children needs to come in if there are only 10 seats available, or do you think that the dropout children needs to come in, number one? Number two, there's this ALP program that you've introduced. Please talk a little about that as well.
Sure. Junior Jinnah is mainly focusing on enrolling and educating girls mainly. Currently, we have around 55% girls enrolled in our current campuses all over Islamabad and Rawalpindi. And the other part is ALP. ALP is a very unique concept. This is accelerated learning program. Accelerated learning program is basically currently there is a 2.5 years syllabus available for primary level. But before that, Junior Jinnah has developed its own syllabus based on the currently available syllabus of the government and the FDE syllabus. We built upon that syllabus, and we created a 3.5 year syllabus. So we shorten that syllabus and skim it, and we try to educate every class in 4 to 6 months period. So that's how 3.5 year period the kids are graduating. Currently around 1,000 plus has been graduated from Junior Jinnah, and they are mainstream into other government schools.
And the school will start from prep nursery till the 8th grade, or
no,
what?
there are actually it start from, you can say, KG to 5. Yeah.
KG till 5.
Yeah, KG till 5. Yeah.
And from 5 onwards, where do you think that those children are going to go? Yeah,
before that, a year ago, those kids being enrolled into the government education system, but we were educating girls here as already. So.
Right,
Exactly.
right. And Shahzad, we've seen that obviously we do have a highest ratio of, especially in the South Asian context, the out of the school children, but we've also seen that retention rate is increasing. We've also seen that enrollment rate is increasing. But when it comes to particularly the education when we talk about the primary schools, what sort of conversations we need to have when we talk about particularly the field of education and you being in that field? I mean, do you think we need to have more such sort of conversations where we talk about bringing children who are especially, and I think we need to cater to those niche of the kids who are begging on the streets, who are, I mean, the traffic signals, and there's entire mafia who's invested in those kids. So how do we make that sort of behavioral change in which we encourage those kids to come to the schools in the first place, because they're so addicted with the money that they are getting, that too from the bystanders out there. So it's very difficult to break that vicious cycle in the first place.
Because the minimum amount you're going to give away these days starts from 50 rupees.
That's
Nobody is taking 10 rupees. They're not even taking. They're like, bhaijan, aap hi rakh lo, aap ko bala.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's
So, for example, you want to open a school in somewhere subskirt of Rawalpindi or Islamabad area, and there are so many children who are doing child labor. So first you can, how we have started, I can share that. We have started with 2 hours session. We call upon those kids, they came to school, we offer them lunch, and that's how they were coming. And we would never discourage them to go to street and do the labor, because that is their earning source.
True.
And after 1 year, the impact created that 50% of those kids, they just left their labor and they came to school regularly.
Yeah.
And 50% time the parents realize that my kid now he can now get study, and he can understand the education. So let's give him more education, and he continue.
Exactly, and it's wonderful to know. But now let's talk about how you maintain the finances around it. So
Right.
so for every child who's going to come in, you have 2,000 children enrolled. Do they have to pay something? Do you have donors contributing to this cause? And when we say, because today happens to be the death anniversary of the father of the nation, the name of your school is Junior Jinnah.
Right.
So how do you make sure that you could instill the vision of Qaeda Muhammad Ali Jinnah into our newer generations, future generations?
So definitely the finances part is always, this is a charity based organization. We covered the charity part from different donations, different donors, and different partner organizations who do contribute with us in all of our efforts to educating these out of school children. And imparting the the Qaeda-Ism always mentioned that education is not left without any skill set.
The same
So
quotation I
there must
quoted.
have to be a futuristic approach to the education. That's
Right.
how we are incorporating here, that we are giving them a basic literacy till primary level, and then we are going to educate them. We are going to give futuristic skill, which is like graphic designing and freelancing, and there are some other courses also attached to it. So they can actually earn the futuristic approach around
Exactly.
the
So
world.
after 5th grade, you're going to take them towards digital literacy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when you take them towards digital literacy, what sort of programs do you make them undergo that with which they can, at a very earlier, in fact, a childhood stage, they're going to start learning. So what are those courses?
Yeah. First, we gave them 3 months basic computer literacy program, and then secondly, we offer them, you can say, the graphic designing program with different Adobe Illustrator and the other tools available in the market. And third, we offer them freelancing program. And our freelancing program is not just only for them to learn and go at home and do the things same.
Yeah.
We actually educate them, and they actually earn from those labs which we have created here.
Wow.
So we give them
Right.
certificate once they show their first earning.
So once
this
you
is
earn
how-
from those labs, do you give them their part?
Yeah,
of
that's the part. That's we want them to earn actually. We want them to be independent in
wonderful
their
model.
own. Yeah.
That's a wonderful model. So
This is-
how do you bring in business, for those kids to kind of contribute towards that business? I think that's one part.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people can learn from it.
Yeah, actually, we have hired some expert expert of the field in this for training and educating these kids. They are not only mostly we try to educate all of these kids who have basic primary program and basic primary literacy program available. So that's how we are educating.
But sir, in addition to this, I'm very sorry, but I'll have to ask this,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I might
sure,
be putting you under the spot. But what happens is
Right.
that whenever I've seen within such a business model or a business cycle that there are experts being hired,
Yeah.
what happens is that eventually the kids are doing all of the work, and then they are underpaid as well. So
True.
imagine what the company will do is that they'll take
Exploit.
a higher amount of money because it's kids and because they've been favoring them so well, so they'll be like, okay, bit putter, ye tera hazar, ye tera hazar, and they might be earning in hundreds and thousands. And I would want to say it in
Yeah.
Urdu कि जब हमने इस तरह के कारोबार देखे हैं, जैसे we've had a wheelchair guy, if you remember, So what happens is that you know कि वो बाहर से ज़्यादा पैसे लेते हैं, बच्चों से सस्ता काम कराते हैं, उन्हीं बच्चों से क्योंकि उन्होंने उनको पढ़ाया होता है, आसान किया होता है, unfortunately if that's how it is, और फिर वो underpaid रहते हैं बच्चे. So you know I just wanted to ask you and clarify the air because I thought that okay, God forbid if this is happening, I don't think that this is fair.
This is actually we have created digital skill lab.
Okay.
That lab is actually educating and training these kids. They are creating their own accounts on different social media.
Okay.
They are creating their own accounts on Fiverr, Upwork, and that's how they are earning by themselves. Whatever they earn, they will directly go to their own accounts.
Mashallah,
so
mashallah.
This is
So
how
it's
we are
wonderful.
not taking a penny from them actually.
That's
Wow.
true. Thank you so much for having this conversation and for bringing in light, because since it happens to be the death anniversary of our founding father Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, so we had a very fruitful discussion about the Junior Jinnah School and how they are instilling and integrating the kids with the market in the first place, because I think this is how education should prepare our kids to
exactly,
be right.
Hajar, and everybody needs to contribute to this cause. You know, for all of those people, alhamdulillah, who now, alhamdulillah, have earned great livelihood, you know, they're comfortable with their lives, please make sure that you sponsor at least one child. You know, let's do this. So imagine, you know,
we
if
can make a difference, right?
if crore people are going to take responsibility of one child only, imagine that we are educating another crore of family. I think that's how it is, because once they're going to grow up, they'll have their own family, and you know that's how it's going to transcend.
And the circle continues.
Yeah, and I'm going to come back to where I started, that you know Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah mentioned that without education it is complete darkness, and with education it is light. Education is a matter of life. So please make sure that you educate your child. But there's one child which I would want to talk about today, and he's an educated one, alhamdulillah, but you know, he's one of the most amazing personalities over here inside our office, over here at PT World, because whatever he gets, alhamdulillah, he spends. You know, no matter what happens, he's not a miser, he's a spendthrift, शाह खर्च आदमी है, कभी तो उधार लेके भी खर्च कर देता है. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the birthday of Chaudhry Noman, and Chaudhry Noman Sahab, assalamu alaikum, and a very happy Hajj day to you, mashallah. You know, so on the outer side he's a Chaudhry, on the inner side he's a very innocent, docile and an amazing gentleman. He's full of love all the time. But the only bad habit he has is spending a lot of money, not going back home on time, and yeah, doing things which our parents and probably our spouses won't like. Yeah,
So happy birthday to you, and
so happy birthday to you, Chaudhry. Chaudhry, you're a great guy, okay?
And may you have many more, and with that we will end up and wrap up our segment. So until next time, it's a goodbye, Allah Hafiz, and good
morning.